So then here we are with the 2009 SBK mod that we've made for GP Bikes. This of course is the Honda Fireblade from that era. And today's video is just going to be a little chit chat about the bike, explaining how long it took us, what exactly we've done with the mod and what the pack itself holds for the future. So of course, as of today, it is now live on GP Bikes. Went live last night. We had a little server up at Brno and got people in, got some feedback early on, so it looks like so far everything's working okay with it. It hasn't broken or anything with the public release, which is always a good thing with a mod. And yeah, it's been made by three of us, myself, Biker Gaming, Mystic Prune, and it has taken pretty much 3 years. We've been working on and off, of course, with 3 people working on it. There's plenty of times where we're not all available to work on it and stuff, so there's been a lot of stop starting over them 3 years, so it has been a real mammoth task really for us to get this live. And of course we've been trying to get it out for so long, but it's just been so many kind of stop starts and kind of hitting false neutrals really, you could say, with this bike, where we keep running into issues that we had to work around and then redevelop other things and stuff. So it's it has been overall a pretty difficult task to get it to this point here now, where it's actually a public release, which is finally where we got it, because there is a readme in the download for this bike, and it does say that we've all fallen out with each other multiple times over this mod, and it has been very close to being canned multiple times. So it's yeah, it's really good for us actually to eventually get it to 1.0, you could say, because to be honest, there's been many times that I definitely felt like this was going nowhere, this mod, and it was a waste of time. So we have something now to show for it. And so far the initial feedback's been pretty much okay. People haven't hated it immediately, which is good. So I'm pretty happy. But of course it is the 2009 Fireblade, and how we all started this was basically, if you go back, I think 2 betas on GP Bikes, every mod basically was broken. Basically Proposo changed the virtual rider, which is the guy on the bike, this fella, and he controlled the front wheel instead of the rear wheel. Basically, without going into too much depth, it just broke a lot of people's mods. So unfortunately there were some inaccuracies in a lot of mods, which made issues with the game, and it became basically unplayable for a lot of mods. And basically throughout that beta we had played so much up to that point, from the initial Steam release to that point, and we didn't want our favorite game to kind of just fall away because the mods hadn't been working on it. So we actually just started playing with random mods and just started trying to, in a way, break it but also fix it. And that's how this kind of started. So then we thought to ourselves, you know what, why play with other people's mods? Why don't we try and make something ourselves? And 3 years later, we now have this little fella here in front of us. So we do plan on making a whole 2009 pack. So that will include the Honda, the Kawasaki, Suzuki, BMW, Aprilia, and Ducati. I think that's everyone I haven't forgot. I don't think anyone there, but it won't take as long for the next 4, 5, 6 bikes. Due to the fact that basically we had to work on the virtual rider, which again is this fella here waving his hand up. He controls the bike, and he's a pain in the ass to work with really, because he can create so many issues in the mod without anything wrong with the bike exactly. So it's been like I said, a mammoth task. But the fact we have it now somewhere okay for the next bike, which I won't spoil yet what we're bringing next. We pretty much will be starting probably in the next week or so, to see exactly what we can get going for bike number 2 in this pack. But essentially we'll start with a base of this, we'll change the model over, redo some geometry, as the bike will be different. It'll be slightly different engine characteristics, redo all that, and then we'll have our base bike 2. So that's kind of how we'll be going for the second bike. And then of course we'll probably start teasing again, as we've been doing for a long time. And to be honest, it's not been something that we're doing on purpose, trying to tease people with it, but just we've been posting anytime we make a progress. We posted a bit about it, so it was probably for a long time we've been trying to get it to this point. But what really happened was we wanted it out for around Christmas time at the end of 2025, but it actually got to a point where it was really broken around then, and we keep making progress, and then we break more stuff, and then realize that we had to go back and redo other things to make this work in the way we wanted. So there was so many moments where we made 2 steps forward and 5 backwards, and we'd have to go back and do so much work to fix things that had broken previously. And it's quite hard to kind of get accurate data and real life kind of numbers for these bikes, but we've gotten plenty of it for this mod, and there's been a lot of work on into just finding out things about this bike and about what the World Superbike regs of 2009 were, and for example the tyres and stuff. There's just been so much kind of data driven behind this, so we really hope that everyone likes it. And so far it does look like that most people, I haven't seen anyone say they hate it, which is good, because we are all a bit kind of tentative giving this bike out, because it isn't out of the box very good. We all know this because the setup is so far off. It basically comes in what we would class as a super sports spec. Now, if you are in our Discord, the DBM modding, we'll link it down below. There is a default setup or base setup that we have been running. Now, we didn't want to basically include it as the default setup because we want people to play with these bikes and actually try and set them up. So for example, I think like the swing arm on the default setup was really far forward as you would get with the road bike. So there's just a lot of things. The ECU is turned off completely from default, so just there's a lot of things that people probably weren't expecting, and we did expect some negative feedback early on, which we actually haven't really gotten any so far as of right now, about basically that it's not the most rideable out of the box because it isn't set up to be a race bike yet. It is in World Superbike spec, but the setup just isn't there, so you will have to play with the setup, which is something that all three of us, well, definitely two of us, Nate and the member of the community that doesn't like the setting up part, but I know for two of us, setting up and doing laps on a track and trying to find a tenth of a second here and there is really enjoyable, and that's kind of the charm of GP bikes for most of it. So the fact that you do actually have to set this bike up to go fast, and again, it is a near 20-year-old superbike now. It doesn't work in a lot of tracks. It is a bit lumpy some places, and again, so it is the first bike in the pack. And if you do go back to 2009, the Honda was not the favorite bike. It was an okay bike. It was a mid-pack bike probably at best, and had its day, it was a good bike. But there's definitely bikes that will come. For example, the R1 should be massively quicker than this, really, because if you go back to it, that was the first big bang in 09, so it'll be a real fun one when we get to that eventually. But yeah, it's just overall, it's great to have the mod out. We're really excited to see what everyone thinks of it, and it's been a long time coming, and we've tried to get it done. And basically over Christmas, when we had a bit of time off from work, we really upended the bike and got a lot of things going and really made massive steps, and that's why it's pretty much been close to what we've considered a finished release for a while. We just had to, they basically, like, over the last couple of weeks we was working on like fuel usage, tire wear, tire temperature and stuff like that, and things you just have to dial in by doing like multiple long races. And like, I think the week before we actually released it, we did probably maybe 6 or 7 100% races at Misano, at Kailami and other tracks, just to see what would happen if we take these tires out of the window. Basically, we're just bug fixing and trying to break them on before we gave it to the public, because the last thing we wanted was to release this mod and it'd be like, oh yeah, if you do more than 10 laps on this tire, it just blows up. So it was something we tried to basically catch all the bugs before we got it. And yeah, we probably will update it as this cycle goes on. Of course, the more we learn about the game and more we learn about this mod, it will change probably as the life cycle goes on with the other bikes coming in as well. I'm sure we will learn more. The more time you spend on it, the more it will change, because if you saw the bike we had day one 3 years ago versus what we have now, they are even the model doesn't look any different. We've worked so much on so much of the different aspects of this game, so it's really fun to see something that we've made be taken so far pretty well in the community. But we're pretty much going to leave it there for today. Like I said, the link to the Discord will be down below. I will link the bike down below, and yeah, let me know what you think if you have tried it out. And yeah, join the server, give us some feedback, because we are really hoping now that the community can give us feedback, because we've got to a point ourselves where we've ridden so much, we don't know if we're seeing issues with the bike that is because we're riding it too often, or if we're just kind of getting a bit numb to it. So it is nice to see now a neutral opinion from a lot of people. And like I was saying, it is a 20-year-old bike, so it isn't the greatest bike. It's not going to feel like a modern day super bike, and I think we've, for me anyway, capitalized that pretty well through the controller and what it does on track. It looks pretty decent, and I was watching in the server last night when I put it up. A lot of people go around and it looked pretty decent. A lot of people struggling in the early laps before they kind of realised the setup probably wasn't right, and before they realised that the anti-wheelie and the traction was turned off. So it was good to see when people started to figure it out and go fast. And at the end, we all, 8 or 9 of us, did a race, and it was pretty fun. It looked pretty decent on track, so that's the kind of little metric we had. If it looks good on track, it must be somewhat nearly close. So anyway, we're going to end it there. Hope you have enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I shall see you in the future for another GP Bikes video. Thanks for watching. Slán go fóill, Buachaillí.